Hello and welcome to the E3 press conference overview. This will just basically be me talking about the different press conferences, which ones I thought succeeded and which ones I thought failed, where I think they could have done better, maybe where I think that they knocked it out of the park. Again, I have never run a press conference before, so I'm probably not the authority, but I appreciate you having patience with me and hope that you can take something away from my thoughts on all of these. We'll start off with the first one that I watched, which was Microsoft's Xbox press conference. I think that as a whole, it was fine. I don't think it was great, but I also don't think it was terrible. They showed off a lot of games and they spent a lot of time showing off games and talking about games, which is what I think the press conference needs to accomplish. However, they also spent some time showing a trailer for a controller, specifically the 2.0 version of the Elite controller, which only had some minor real changes to it. And I think they could have just talked about those changes and then moved on instead of spending time on a trailer for that. I feel like sometimes they push trailers for things that don't need to have trailers. Another example of that is like Battletoads and Gears 5. Both those games we already knew existed. Both those games we already knew were coming out. Both those games were not given a lot more information in those trailers. So they could have just shown them in a highlight reel and talked about them and moved on. But they had a trailer because they have to have a trailer, right? And I think that's a fault in the way that press conferences are run. I think that having a trailer just to have a trailer that doesn't communicate anything new to the audience is really wasted. It's wasted time, it's wasted money. I get that E3 is your chance to get hype about games, but if all you're going to do is just show your game off with stuff we already know, or in Gears situation, not even show the game off really in that trailer, it was just kind of a waste. And I would like to see them move away from that. When it comes to talking about Ultimate Game Pass and Scarlet, all that stuff's fine. Xbox has already always done stuff like that. I do think that throwing numbers at the audience that they won't understand is a big flaw. Should not do that. But I understand that that is what they've always done. I still think you shouldn't do it. I think breaking it down and talking about the loading times was really good because that's something people can understand. But on a whole, I think that it was kind of wasted time talking about specific numbers. 120 FPS, that's just you're just throwing a number at people. They don't. A lot of people don't know what that means, and even if you know what it means, then you know that that means that not every game will run it. So why throw it out in the first place? It's just a buzzword, and that's really unfortunate. After Xbox was Bethesda, and I think that Bethesda actually had a pretty poor showing in their press conference. They showed off some cool stuff. I just think their press conference was kind of lacking in a lot of ways. They did a lot of talking without a lot of showing. The stuff they did show was okay. There was some interesting stuff in there. Battle Royale for Fallout 76, if you're a fan of Fallout 76. The stuff with Wolfenstein, the stuff with Doom Eternal. They spent a good amount of time on Doom Eternal, and Doom Eternal looks good. However, I just feel like they spent a lot of time talking about stuff I really didn't care about. They spent a good amount of time on Blades. Understandably, they spent an amount of time on Elder Scrolls Online. Made a lot of money for them. But they showed a bunch of CG trailers that didn't really have any gameplay in them. Like, yeah, sure, the Elder Scrolls Online Elsewhere trailer looked great fighting that dragon, the Khajiit, and everybody else with her. But that's not the way the game plays at all. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't play like that. And I would have just rather had a gameplay trailer. I think that that is a fault of this year in E3 for sure, is too many CG trailers and not enough gameplay trailers. I think Ghostwire Tokyo looks amazing, and I don't know what is CG and what is gameplay in that trailer. But that was really the only one from Bethesda that blew me away. I think that it definitely could have been more. It could have spent some more time on those games and talking about what they are, because we don't even know what Ghostwire Tokyo really is. And instead, they spent a lot of time talking about Blades, and they had that CG trailer for the card game, and they spent some time on Wolfenstein, showing us a supercut of a trailer we'd basically already seen, and that's just really unfortunate to me. I think that Bethesda, in a lot of ways, just kept on with what they had been doing, and that's not really what we need from Bethesda nowadays. We need more information. We need more time spent on stuff that matters and not on stuff that doesn't. And I don't mean to sound harsh on that, because who am I to say what does and doesn't deserve time, right? But you didn't need a CG trailer for Elder Scrolls Online. You didn't need a CG trailer for Legends. You didn't need another trailer for Blades. It just felt a little rough to me, especially since we didn't hear anything about Elder Scrolls 6. Didn't hear anything about the new Star, whatever it's called. We didn't hear any of that. It's just like, yeah, we're still working on it. And it just felt really unfortunate to me because it felt like Bethesda's presser was kind of just a waste of time in a lot of ways. From Bethesda, we move on to Devolver. Now, I have been very critical of Devolver, and some of you have pointed out that you do not agree, and that's fine. We don't have to agree. I like that we have different opinions, and I'm glad that you can enjoy Devolver's press conference. I think of the 3 Devolver press conferences that I've seen now, this is probably the best one. They spent about 8 minutes of the 21-minute conference on games. Maybe 8.5, somewhere close to that, which is more than in previous years. I think that the games they showed were really cool. It's just, again, their highlight reel is a flash of games with no titles given, with a bunch of fancy effects on the screen because they're going for trying to tell a story. And I'm glad they have their way of doing things. I'm glad they do it their way. I just don't appreciate it at all. So for me, Devolver's conference was at the bottom. They even showed some cool games. Like, Carrion is in my top for this year. But I just think they spent too much time not on the game. It's too much time talking about why they're not doing a conference. Too much time spent on the story they're trying to tell. And that's fine. You can do that if you want to. It's your conference. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But I appreciate when press conferences talk about games. And they hype people up for games. And they show off new stuff. Or they talk about new consoles. That's what E3 is to me. And Devolver's not doing that. And so, unfortunately, that is a big bottom of the list for me. Following Devolver was Ubisoft. Ubisoft showed off some cool stuff. I thought Watch Dogs Legion was really cool. I thought that the stuff with Assassin's Creed Odyssey that's being added in is really nifty. Ubisoft also had a problem of a lot of dead air, a lot of times where we were waiting on people to come out on the stage, a lot of times where we spent a good amount of time on Just Dance. And although that Just Dance commercial was good, it just didn't really do much for me. We didn't get any Trials news on stage. We didn't get any Rabbids news on stage. And it just felt a little weird the direction they decided to take this one in. I think they still did a fine job. Their presser, I would put near Microsoft's of it's fine. You know, it's not egregious. It didn't do anything terrible, really, but it also didn't do anything that blew me away. So, sure, you know, it did the job. After that's Kind of Funny. I thought Kind of Funny Game Showcase was really solid. I thought they did a really good job there. I think that showing off all 60 of those games in 40 minutes is really cool because you have less than a minute for every game, but they really took the time to let you see some gameplay of each game. And they still had skits cut in between. Do I think some of those skits could have been shorter to spend more time to talk about the games? Absolutely. But at the same time, I think they did a really good job with what they had for not having anywhere close to the budget that a lot of these other companies have. I think it was really nice. And showing off all those games was really cool. There were some really interesting games shown off, some of which are in my best of show. So very, very nice job, Kind of Funny. You will now be in the rotation every year with the rest of E3 because I think you did a really good job. I think they are right up near the top. I would say they are above Microsoft and Ubisoft. Following Kind of Funny, we forgot to talk about PC Gaming Show. PC Gaming Show was 2 hours of, hey, here's games. And I really liked that. They had brief moments where the devs would come out and talk, and sometimes those went on a little long. Sometimes they didn't go on long enough. But they showed off a ton of games. They spent a lot of time on it. They did spend a little bit of time on a monitor, but it is PC Gaming Show, so that's fine. Samsung did just like Microsoft and threw out a bunch of numbers that don't mean a lot to a lot of people, to the point where somebody in the crowd was like, is it 4K? Because those numbers don't mean anything to a lot of people, you know? But I do think PC Gaming Show did a very good job. Both of the hosts did an amazing job. I think I would probably put PC Gaming Show above even Kind of Funny, as good as Kind of Funny was. So currently, we are at PC Gaming Show, Kind of Funny, Xbox, Ubisoft, right about in the same area, and then Devolver down at the bottom. After that, though, because everything's going to have to shift, because after that is Square Enix. Square Enix knocked it out of the park between their presentation and the way it was all set up, where they had the big drapes that could come down, the setup of having, almost Nintendo Direct style, of having picture frames that the camera would zoom into to show you how much was left that they had to talk about. Starting off with FF7 Remake, getting people hyped from the get-go, and then continuing to build on that hype by bringing in things like the new Shadowbringers trailer and continuing to just hit after hit after hit. Some of those hits were pretty lackluster. As much as I love The Last Remnant Remastered and was super stoked that it was finally coming out on Switch and Shadow dropped, I'm aware that a lot of people don't even know what that game is, so they weren't hype about it at all, you know? But constantly getting the hits in, constantly reminding people why they are Square Enix, making sure people understand that their press conference was one of the best this year. I think right now at the top is Square Enix. They did a great job. And that's everybody's gonna go, well, you're just biased because you play Final Fantasy 14. It's like, no, that was a good press conference. They brought out the people they needed to bring out. They didn't spend too long with any of them. They spent more time on Avengers probably than they needed to per se, but it was a really good showing with Avengers, and that story looks really interesting. So I'm not upset that they spent that much time with it. Finally, though, is Nintendo. And Nintendo, there are some people that are upset because they didn't get Metroid, but I think Nintendo came out swinging, and Nintendo cemented itself in right up with Square Enix as best in show. Nintendo showed off so much good stuff. They did not relent. They started with Smash, they ended with Smash. But unlike last year, it wasn't just a Smash Direct. They still had a bunch of other information. A new Three Houses trailer that gives us a whole new perspective on Three Houses. They showed us Breath of the Wild sequel. You know, it's boom, 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 boom. Animal Crossing, Collection of Mana, Secret of Mana 3. That's not what it's called. It's like Seiken Densetsu 3. But like constant hits of just boom, 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 boom with trailers and with no real downtime in between. They had the one break for Doug Bowser to come out and be introduced and to have that joke with Bowser. And they had the next break where Doug Bowser talked about their plans with the company and moving forward. But it was kind of just forward, which was really good. Everything else was being pushed to the treehouse, which I wish is the way that more companies do it, honestly. As much as I love a press conference, I either want a press conference like Square Enix's or I want a direct like Nintendo. And I don't want it in between. You know, I want games. And I want you to spend the time on games. And I want you to talk to me about games. And I don't really want to see you talk to me about, you know, I don't want a lot of jokes. I think jokes are fine. Like, for instance, when Ubisoft has the Trials guy come out and fall and break something, sure, it's a short joke, and then we go straight into games, you know? But you look at the way that Microsoft stood around for a while talking about the Scarlet, or you look at the videos that Bethesda kept showing throughout the course of their conference about the players. It's like, yeah, that stuff's cool. Having the players talk is cool. Those videos were really long. And although I loved the guy going, you know, add dragons to everything, I'm right there with him, you know, but those videos didn't have to be that long. And you also have the problem, now that we've reached the end, E3 guy. I love E3 guy, but look, E3 guy, you're too much. You gotta calm down. You're in every press conference for the most part, except for Nintendo and Kinda Funny and Devolver, because you can't be in those because they're pre-recorded. But you're in every press conference. You're too loud. You interrupt when people are talking. I appreciate you. But it was most prevalent in Bethesda, where they could barely get a word out before the crowd would throw a fit, get excited, and then they could talk again. And it was very obvious there. And I'm to the point now where I either need it to be like Square Enix, where the crowd can talk, but the presenters will interrupt them, as Yoshi P's translator did, to make sure that they were able to get what they were talking about done in the right amount of time, or to just do it like Nintendo and have it pre-recorded, because you can't keep interrupting every phrase to cheer, especially for stuff you don't even know what it is yet. It just seems disingenuous. Anyway, my current ranking, and this may change over the next couple weeks, my current ranking for conferences this year is Square Enix, Nintendo, right about, like, fighting for top place, right about there. Then PC Gaming Show, Kinda Funny, like right underneath it. Then, trying to make sure I didn't cut anybody out here. Xbox and Ubisoft, right about the same again. Bethesda, Devolver. And again, I think I would like to see more time spent on the games, less time spent on videos, less time spent on jokes, less time spent on skits. They can be funny, and sometimes they're some of our greatest memories. Attack the weak point for massive damage, you know, giant enemy crab. But I just want to focus on the games. What I'm here for. It's what a lot of people are here for. I know that I'm very different from some people in that regard because some people love the conferences for the show of it all. I love it for the games and for the hype and for the excitement that they build. So let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this year's E3, what your personal ranking would be. Obviously, if you care more about one specific game, your ranking will be very different from mine. But I am curious, and let me know what you'd like to see from E3 in the coming years. Until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Sony, come back! And remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that E3